Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Monday, the 25th day of August, 2025, Monday of the 21st week of the year, the 21st week in Ordinary Time. It is 4 months until Christmas Day, something to think about as you move through the rest of today. But it's also on the Franciscan calendar. For those of us who are Franciscans, it is the day in which we remember Saint Louis, King Louis IX of France, who lived a little bit during the time of St. Francis. Was a child when St. Francis dies, but because of the spread of the order and because of what is becoming within the church itself, Saint Louis was attracted to it and becomes a part of what is known as the Third Order, the secular Franciscan order today. But one of the three orders that St. Francis founds. Remember, he founded one for men, he founded one for women, and then he founded one for laymen and women who did not want to enter into religious life, take vows in that way, but still wanted to live by the principles and the vision that St. Francis sets up, which is, again, what St. Francis was doing. He wasn't just setting up a community for people to be separated from the world. It's what makes being a Franciscan different than being a monk and a Benedictine in many other ways. It was an openness to the world. And so the Franciscan men, Franciscan women, the brothers and the sisters, were supposed to live within the world and present to the world an ideal of what it meant to live as a Christian in the world. But it wasn't just limited to them. It was something that was also supposed to be open to all men and women who dared to believe within this world. And so Louis IX becomes one of these members. And so he is remembered today, a layman, a king, again, who also embraced, in many ways, as he could, the life that St. Francis was preaching in his ministry. Our readings from the day, we depart from the Old Testament and move immediately into the New Testament today. We open up the letter to the Thessalonians, the first of two letters. It's the first letter that we read a couple of times this week. And the Thessalonians letter is considered to be the earliest of Paul's letters. So perhaps written maybe around 50, maybe around 40, of the Common Era. If Jesus dies sometimes in the 30s, again, it's a letter that is written soon after that. So maybe 60, but it's very, very, very early on. And so it's just the beginning of it. It's a greeting to everybody, who is a member of the Church of Thessalonica, the city on the northern curve of Greece, as at the top part of Greece, as it embraces the Aegean Sea, and basically just a praise of them for basically taking the risk to believe in what Paul had brought them as preaching and the gospel, and having it happen early on, again, it seems to be in some ways remarkable. It seems to be in some ways, again, another gift of God, a blessing of God. And so Paul, within this reading, continues to affirm the Thessalonians. He should affirm the Franciscans too, but affirms the Thessalonians, again, in their work, in their mission, in the desire to embrace, again, who it is that this Christ is, and the presence of this Christ, again, in their lives. Matthew's Gospel, we go now into the great woes of the Pharisees. Again, Matthew's Gospel is also the basis of God's Spell, the musical. And there is this one moment within that musical, again, in which these, again, ugly creatures, going to come out and try to control Jesus and the apostles and whatever it is. And he sings this, a great song about woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, woe to you, blind guides, woe to you, fools. And again, all these kinds of things are presented against the Pharisees because they are trying to they're trying to create the people of Israel in their image and not in God's image. And they create all kinds of things to stand as barriers to them, marking them as signs of righteousness and holiness. Again, always to be concerned about this, even within our own church today, when we are putting up signs and practices and ideals and whatever it is that do not give us life, that do not give us hope, that do not give us a vibrancy, to live within this world and all of its wonder and its beauty. We have to see, is this just of human design, or is this of God's design? Again, the Pharisees were much more concerned with the own human design and trying to direct the way that God acts and lives within human lives, rather than letting God act and live in God's own time, in these lives. And Jesus begins, again, these great series, you get of woes and condemnations against them, and their teaching, which is not bringing people closer to God, but actually driving them farther away. Just I am in New Mexico today, and so this is the Canossian Sisters Convent. It is a workshop for our first year Franciscans, the postulants, as well as some meetings. So I'll be here until Wednesday. So a beautiful labyrinth that they have over here, so you can see that today. So that's where I am, New Mexico today. Okay, so may you have a blessed day, 4 months until Christmas and the Feast of Saint Louis, and may the Lord give you his peace.